Hi, we're Team 4Ds, and today we're here to talk about the role of data insights in improving TELUS wireless likelihood to recommend. At TELUS, putting customer first is our top priority, and L2R is the key metric that indicates whether we're meeting that objective to differentiate ourselves from the competition. The customer first objective makes up 45% of our corporate scorecard, and the L2R survey results of the Customer Satisfaction Index makes up to 20%. L2R is not only a key brand and customer experience metric, it is the cornerstone of TELUS marketing research strategy. We use L2R surveys as a primary research method to analyze and assess how we can better serve our customers. We're doing better than our industry peers. However, our scores still remain stagnant, ranging from 72% to 75% over the last 2 years, even though we've invested significant resources on improving wireless customer experience and network reliability through network builds and process improvements. Even TELUS wireless flanker brands, CUDA and Public Mobile, are rated higher at 83% and 76% respectively, despite having less service features and sharing the same wireless network. One of the items that forms L2R survey is reliability, and we chose it because it has the highest impact on the customer perception next to TELUS reputation and brand image. It is also aligned with the CONMOL layers that we learned about in the operations course. Given that TELUS offers critical services such as wireless voice, messaging, and internet connection, it is clear why people rate reliability over other domains. The focus of our exercise is wireless reliability survey that TELUS runs every month. We send surveys to 2,000 TELUS customers and ask them to rate our reliability across four major wireless service categories. The customers include all TELUS prepaid and postpaid consumers. We interview people of different ages across all provinces with various devices. If certain location is not sufficiently covered, we boost the survey to get more information and have sufficient amount of responses. We ask questions such as how would you rate the reliability of the data services on your wireless phone? Or thinking about using the data services on your wireless phone, have you ever experienced any problems in the past month? And finally, which of the following data service problems have you experienced in the past month? These questions are supposed to help us understand what issues occur to our customers and take an action. The biggest question is whether the information we receive is valid and sufficient for a meaningful analysis. As an example, most recently the survey was adjusted to clarify its purpose. Previously we would ask, how would you rate TELUS on the reliability of their wireless service, which we thought confused the customers. Since middle of 2017, we ask, how would you rate TELUS on the reliability of their network? We believe it's still confusing since network is not the only component that contributes to reliability, as we've covered in the previous slides.
The failure of recent modifications to the survey to drive the desired results is a concern due to both the importance that the L2R survey has on business unit performance measurement, but also the multi-year investment that the organization has made in this particular market research initiative. As we've been unable to move the needle in reliability after years of market research, it is fair to ask, is the investment in L2R money well spent? After analyzing the survey against research best practices, it is our conclusion that there are inherent flaws in our current marketing research methodology. We will test this hypothesis on the TELUS Wireless Reliability Survey. Before analyzing the survey itself, we start by reviewing the optimal research model. The model shown can be summarized into the following checklist. Develop a clear objective statement. Develop the general and then the specific research questions. Determine what data are necessary to answer those questions, and then design, collect, and analyze. A flaw in the model will corrupt the downstream methodology and result in findings that do not address the key research question. Specifically, surveys should adhere to the following best practice themes. Number one, surveys should be designed from a user's perspective. That means keep it short, use language that is clear, unambiguous, and appropriate. Keep respondents' task simple and provide clear instructions. Second, survey design must be impartial. That means use language that is unbiased, check for unwarranted assumptions implicit in the questions, and word questions in ways that do not give clues about the preferred or more desirable responses. And third, keep the survey focused on the research question. That means ensure that every question is essential, ensure that each item and question carries only one idea, and check for consistency with counter-check questions. Our analysis of the L2R methodology shows gaps between the research best practices and the L2R execution, which are documented in detail in the Excel file in the appendix of this presentation. Alarmingly, we found deficiencies in the foundational step of survey design to find the problem. There are also issues with formalizing research design, preparing and analyzing the data, and finally, preparing and presenting results for decision making.
Referring to the current survey, which we've also attached on the last slide, it's hard to understand what the research objective is. In other words, what is the business problem that we're trying to solve? For example, we ask our customers what they think about the reliability of our network, how often they use text messaging, and the percentage of monthly wireless usage. It's all over the place. We should go back to the drawing board to clearly define the business problem that we're trying to solve. Our wireless reliability scores are stagnant, and we want to find out how we can move the needle. Next, we need to come up with the research problem, the hypothesis that we want to test. This will give us direction on what questions we want to ask to get the right information that we need to solve the business problem. At this stage, it's important that we get the right people in the room to help us define and align on the business and research objectives. Based on the research objectives, we need to ask ourselves, what questions need to stay and which can go? How do we establish context to reduce noise? How do we encourage clear and honest responses? We've made changes to the existing survey with these questions in mind, which helped us to stay focused on the research objective and trim down the number of questions by almost 90%. You can refer to the Excel file for the list of questions. To give a specific example, if one of our hypotheses for research is there is a gap in customer expectation around wireless reliability, we should ask the customer to validate the gap and provide context as to how we can close the gap. Remember, we want to dig deep. In terms of the reliability rating, we should add numbers to the current word scale to reduce subjectivity and survey bias. At this stage of research, we also need to work with survey design experts to ensure design best practices are being applied. Aside from the pages and pages of questions that we were able to trim down, we also looked at ways to simplify the questions. Some sentences were so long that I forget what I was being asked by the time that I finished reading it. Look at this one here. There were 3 overalls and 2 pays in one sentence, and the answers don't really correspond well with the questions being asked. Also, any questions that can be obtained through secondary data from our internal systems, such as simple demographic data, should be removed. Contrast our survey with a typical Netflix survey where it's simple and straightforward. By looking at it, I understand their research objective. We don't want to create more work for respondents, and we want to make it easy and simple. And that's something that we should keep in mind when designing our survey. We also need to ask ourselves if the survey is enough to help us dig deeper into what customers are looking for. And sometimes this information is hard to get via just an online survey. So in order for us to gain more valuable insight, we should consider using qualitative research methods such as focus groups, interviews, and then correlate these insights with call center and network data to help us get a deeper understanding of the customer need to help us close the wireless reliability gap. That said, we need to consider budget when making these decisions on what methods to use, because focus groups and in-depth interviews require more resources and time.
Generally, multiple parties are involved in the reliability survey. The marketing team designs the survey and engages external vendor to perform it. The same marketing team does not analyze the results and rather reports the outcome to a variety of stakeholders, including a products and services team that owns the reliability piece. When product managers try to analyze the outputs, they get frustrated by the lack of consistency in responses, lots of noise, and usually no correlation with reality, unless something big occurred, such as power outages or introduction of a new service that was disruptive to our customer experience. Recommendation:
TELUS has a very data-driven culture, and we often spend too much time presenting data. Instead, we should focus on presenting only relevant findings and recommendations in a digestible fashion for effective decision-making that will help us close any wireless experience gaps. This is the meeting structure we propose for the findings presentation, to ensure that we spend enough time on aligning on the best solution to solve the problem at hand, and building engagement and commitment from the stakeholders involved. This forces us to be purposeful around executing market research findings.
Following up on Dylan's recommendation around execution, we came up with a plan to encourage our stakeholder to consider a change in regard of the survey. Our first action will be around the methodology to be sure that we use the right framework and also that the research tool that we put in place address the right objective. We would do a survey redesign to align with the best methodology in place. To validate that our redesign is really accurate, we're going to compare the result of this survey with the other and see if internally at TELUS we are using the data the right way to improve our quality of service. Of course, after launching the survey to all the population at TELUS customer, we will validate as a continuous improvement and see if we are still using all the data to improve the quality of service. And then we would use this methodology and apply it to all other L2R surveys that are there. So here's our closing thoughts. L2R is a really powerful tool. TELUS needs to focus on customer needs to improve its results. First, understand what we are trying to assess is key. So we think that the problem definition must be well understood between TELUS team member, but also with our customer. Having a customer take the time to answer a survey is priceless. To maximize this interaction, we suggest to use external expertise to make sure our survey is accurate and effective to maximize the data return for TELUS. As a continuous improvement process, we suggest to use focus group not only with our customer, but also with our internal people who are using those data and those surveys to be sure that we improve always the process. We believe that the potential outcome for that type of survey is really important. So to make and to move forward, we need to have our senior leadership engage in that process. So on behalf of the 4Ds, this concludes our presentation. Merci beaucoup.